Okay.
Uh,
Hey.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Mohit, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Lee?
Good. Good. Little early this morning, but that's how Mondays go. I think we've got I don't know if I talk about this a lot, but I've got three kids and they're in grade school, or they're younger kids. So this morning was pretty difficult for them to wake up. It was we pulled out almost all the stops. We ended up having cinnamon toast, so some sugary toast, just to tantalize them out of their beds. And then one of them did nothing but eat around the crust. So we had like a plate full of, crust, because
Same thing happens with me when I, yeah,
yeah.
same thing happened with me when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, then turns out now we have a lot of animals. We have my wife does wildlife rehabilitation, so we have a lot of so we have like raccoons and rabbits and squirrels and deer and other and but this morning our dogs got some cinnamon toast because they got all the edges, they got the leftovers. So yeah, anyway, nice to have Goodness, nice to have Mohit. Aditya is here as well. Josh just messaged that there's a power outage on his campus. Josh goes to IIT Jodhpur, and so actually there's a few community members who go to that same university. So a couple of them may not be here either. There's one person, so Zane is joining, but we should also poke at Mr. Lada, Meshmate Nikhil Lada. Let's see. Let's see here, meeting. Okay. Well, actually, so Goodness, you're first up. Let's get started on the topics. Let's dig into yours. Yeah, and then if you want to introduce the subject, and if you have anything to share too, take it away. And then Goodness, just in case I don't know if you're on mute. I don't know if you're able to talk today or not, but.
Hi. Can
There
you
you
hear
are.
me?
Yep. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. Yep. We can hear you now. And so, Goodness, if you can hear me, if you want to just walk us through the issue, the bug and your fix.
Okay, so do I have to share screen for that?
It's up to you. Please do, or if you want to tell me to share something, I can as well if bandwidth is an issue, but either way.
Okay, I think that's fine. So I'm working on, I think that's issue.
Okay, sure. I'll just bring it back up.
Sorry, please.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm working on issue 2152. So that's to add the about community and contributing page to the handbook. And I think I've sent in a commit just for the community page, and I was supposed to like make some changes to that. And I think I've done that. The only thing left is changing the colors of the checkbox for the, I don't know if you could just go down a bit.
Excuse me, sorry.
Yes, so the bless you. So the
Thank
only
you.
thing left is changing the colors of the checkbox. Yes, that's the only thing left.
Yeah,
Yes, so yeah, I've already implemented the other corrections. And so I should be able to do that soon, and then also send in commits for the other pages. That's about and contributing pages.
Could you go to
Nice.
this page? Like, could you
Yeah.
go to the
Sorry, did you say something?
Oh, not to you, not to you.
Yeah, so goodness, he was just asking for me to navigate to the page so we can look over some of the changes in action.
It's
Okay.
community. Yeah. So one thing that me, Devupriya and Zan, we were discussing was that this page is getting a bit too long. Like it's not ending. Yeah. So if we could shift the part to leadership, I think yeah, this section maybe to another page.
Yeah, so this one's about community. All right, we've got the guidelines. Nice. All right, nice. There's a fair bit of this that I haven't read yet. Good. Yep. Code of conduct. Hey, there's one other thing that I don't know if it's been obvious to everyone, and maybe it's in here already, but if there does end up being an issue to report, there is an email, a mailing list to send issues into. And so does anyone remember that going into the handbook? If not, then it's probably worth looking it up. There was oh yeah, it might be on the Meshmates page. I don't. No one has used it yet. As a matter of fact, we don't receive complaints. Join the community. Newcomers, Meshmates. Oh yeah. Okay, here it is. I'm sorry. It's not a.
Isn't this said?
Yeah, it's actually a form. I'm sorry, it's not an email, but a form that people can fill in to report an issue. And so if we don't have this in the current handbook, then we certainly should. I'll put this in it.
I'll add that.
Ali,
Nice.
what's the third field? It just has a checkbox for your email.
Yeah, that probably could be cleaned up a little bit because one, I think if you visit, here, let me share let me reshare. So if I were to open up a new tab, a new private browsing window and open up that form, okay. So the form doesn't require that you be signed in. And to the extent that you're not, oh yeah, the question went missing. I think someone updated this probably. I assume that the question is like, how would you like us to contact you? So who's involved? What are your contact details? If you would rather report an incident in person, please indicate the best way to contact me. So yeah, this needs to be cleaned up a little bit. Yeah, this form It should be, if we go into the community drive. Oh, you know what? This form might be in the community manager's shared drive. Okay, let me take that as an action item to see where that form is and see who can update that. But yeah, it needs to be cleaned up. So it's cool. Goodness, I had one question about your PR, mostly just a learning thing for me or a refresh for me. And that is, as you go to style the check marks and potentially recolor them, I'm curious, do you recall the CSS, the property that defines that?
We have a tick in the about page of the same handbook. No, not the about, code of conduct, I believe. Somewhere there.
I found the form.
Say it
Yeah,
again.
code of conduct page.
Okay. Okay. That page has a styled check marks. Okay, cool. Do you guys remember what the name of the property is? Like, is it like the background or something? Like, I don't just, I haven't done that in a long time. Cool. Okay. Well, very good. So goodness, nice progress. Good progress. So Aditya had the suggestion that perhaps this community page is long, and yeah, both in part because it's relatively long, but also because, well, this is kind of a different thing. If you're generally looking to understand the community, sure, like this is, So we have guidelines. Then we describe roles. And kind of in the middle of roles, we say that there is such a thing as a badge. Then we discuss a different role, a maintainer role. But along the way, it's like, how do you accumulate responsibility? Yeah, seems like there could be a separate. It's interesting because it really is a separate topic about roles, what their responsibilities are, how to fulfill them, how to attain one of those, how to sustain one of those, which is its own set of topics, separate from. It's like a roles page. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Community. Yeah, and so these are, okay, community guidelines, that makes sense. Yeah, it might make sense that there's a community guidelines and then community roles. Potentially. Good feedback. Good. Anybody else have feedback on this?
Goodness, please try to put links, because most of the things there, the essence for this guide is for people to like easily locate any link they're looking for. So if you're talking about, let's say, the mesh meet now, you should look for a place to highlight what a mesh meet is, so someone can go to the main page. Or you're talking about mesh rate, then you look for a way to highlight it with the link. So so people can easily navigate to the places. I saw a point where you talked about the newcomers channel in Slack, but the link was not there. And a few other places. So please just try to add the links.
Okay.
Cool. By the way, I don't know if everyone is familiar with this, but in our use of Gatsby, we have a component called a link, or rather, I don't think it's our component. I think it's a common component to Gatsby. What is it? Link to, and so anytime that you're using a link that's internal to the site itself, you'd end up using this this style hyperlink link. But and then anytime that you've got a hyperlink going to an external site, I think you end up still using the A tag. Now, I think part of the benefit of using the link tag here is that should you end up, in your ID or, taking a page and moving it from folder to folder, moving it around, that you should find that Gatsby helps restructure these hyperlinks. So, just FYI. Oops. Meshmates, newcomers channel. Okay, and what else do we have today? So, Aditya, are you up next?
Yep. So since we couldn't we couldn't come on a consensus of what color to choose. Okay, where did I open it? Here it is. So we couldn't come to a decision on what color we should change this getting started page, like getting started portion on Meshy.io. So I just reverted the color back to gray, but I just added some spacing between the components so that it's cleaner and the transition is better now. It's a little smoother. So that's it. I have an open PR on this.
Then Aditya, do you know if, and nothing necessarily needs to change, but I think in the mobile view, it stays the same as it was, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Oh, gotcha. Okay, so the increased spacing continues to stay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Any feedback for Aditya? I'm curious, separate from your PR, but there was a set of green buttons toward the bottom about internship programs. It looked like one of them began to line wrap or something. If you go even further than this. Yeah, there, the community bridge. Actually, yeah.
Actually, there's an open PR on this too. It just needs a little bit of updates and then that can be merged as well.
Okay. Cool. Nice. We should also, yeah.
But the
Okay, good.
contributor is not active.
Okay, yeah, we should probably take the 2020, the year off of the. By the way, we were considering participating in Outreachy this year, and having spent some time with the main organizer of Outreachy, it's clear we do not want to participate in Outreachy. So we won't be. We'll talk more about that at the community meeting. But
the PR has been open for this for a very long time now. Like there's a PR where community bridges changed to LFX. It's in here itself. Like there are 2 issues being solved in this same PR. Okay, can't open it for some reason. Okay, here it is. So these are the changes.
Yeah, it's still, oh, yeah, I don't, I'm not sure what it is with the internships and the buttons, but it's pretty bad.
We just need to update the content, I think, where, yeah, I think that's what we need to do.
We do want to try to change over to LFX. It was previously called Community Bridge. It would be nice to retain some of that history, but yeah, there's actually a few different internships that have gone on recently that have yet to be really documented in this way. There have been blog posts written about them, but yeah, so here, this looks pretty good, except for the year on GSOD. This looks pretty good. That we would probably want to change from green button to something else like dark gray or so, I don't know, something that offsets.
We could use this subscribe button, like this.
Yeah.
Component.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. By the way, so if contributors, stuff happens, life happens. If contributors end up not being responsive, then it's our responsibility to pick up those PRs and move them forward. So if you're not, and all of you should be able to do that. If you're not familiar with the GH.
No, the problem with GH is that if you're, I think it's, if you're a maintainer, then that's the only way you can commit to that branch. Otherwise, it'll open up a separate PR.
Okay, yeah, let's wait, hold on. So I don't know that let's do this. Let's test that because it's an important thing that like, do you mind?
I've tested it out before. Like I did it on Layer5 IO yesterday for the first time. But like that, I was able to do that because I just got access to that. But on here, I have tried doing that to a branch before, but it was opening up another PR. We could try it out again.
Well, by opening another PR, like when you do a git push.
Yeah, it would like not push to this branch, like not to this PR. I would have to open one separately.
Okay. It's not that it would open another PR, it's that it wouldn't let you push to this one.
Yeah, it wouldn't let me push to this one.
Okay. Gotcha. Got you. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that needs like write access. I think write access is what you require, like not like maintainers or something.
Right.
Because you're writing on this branch. So
okay. And that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's incumbent upon the maintainers to pick those up then. Cool. Okay, very good. Any other feedback on Aditya's topic? Nice. So there've been is Conwall on the call?
yeah, he told me that he'll be out of town, so he won't be able to come. But maybe this is something we should discuss.
Okay.
So he has added lazy loading to all the images used on Meshery.io. So I don't know how. I think it's called Insights, like where you see how the page is performing on Google. So I took the link of this preview and put it up there. So it didn't make any difference to the the preview here. Yeah, it didn't make any difference to the performance. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not sure if that's how it works. Maybe we would have to push it and then see if the page is doing better.
Yeah, but I think that one of the there's a couple of reasons why pushing it and then running the test makes a difference, in part because, so Netlify, as they're running this preview site, they're not going to give it, they'll give it a low performing system to run on. We won't be using the same CDN, the same caching system for images as well. And so, yeah, it's not a fair comparison. That's not to say that the changes that he has made will make a substantial difference. And I think maybe they will. I have no idea because I haven't looked at the changes, but
It's just lazy loading lazy in front of all the images. That's it.
Okay. So, all right. And then so the script that's being used for that is,
Oh, and he has also removed all the commented out code, so it should increase the performance a little bit.
yeah. So do you know, is there a script that's, or a CSS class that's doing something different when lazy is assigned?
I'm not sure. I've actually never seen this happen before. So.
Because if not, then yeah, I don't know that lazy loading is actually happening unless he buried this script somewhere else, or unless we already had a script.
I don't see any style sheet changes, so probably nothing.
So adds lazy loading to the site and removes, okay. Yeah. So I think he might have just been assuming that there's a script that would pick up on lazy loading. We definitely should give feedback and inquire about the mechanics of how lazy loading is functioning. Because unless I missed it, unless there's like some HTML5 like built into the language thing, then there's no lazy loading happening. Or unless it was built into Jekyll or built into some tech that we're using, but I'll bet you a lot of money that it's not. There's no change. So does anyone want to provide that feedback, or should I? And it can just be questions. Before I forget, thank you, Blake. Okay, thank you, Aditya. Mr. Raj.
Yeah. So the part like this attribute has been added in HTML5 itself, but considering we don't have much images on the mesh.io site, I doubt it will create much of any performance impact to the user. If I'm also not sure if the using the inbuilt lazy loading actually does give much performance benefit than using an external library or a JavaScript based approach, like using a sync or something else.
Yeah, Nikhil, your voice is a little faint, but are you aware of such a built-in language facility like this, loading lazy?
I just checked it out. In HTML5, it has been added. There is an attribute for image tag, which is lazy loading.
Nice. Okay. So yeah, it is built into the loading attribute, lazy.
But how much benefit it actually gives, that there is nowhere defined as such. Like what the actual, though it says that it loads the image when the user scrolls down to that image, but not sure what the actual benefit or how much improvement it is.
Yeah, interesting. Let's explore that for just a moment, if you guys don't mind. So if I bring up a brand new or a private browsing window, such that it wouldn't have those items cached. Now, granted, this might behave a little slowly just because this is Netlify's preview thing. But okay, so we've on our current screen, we've called up this animated GIF, which is large relative to some other images, but here's an image, an image, an image, an image, you know, a couple of these little font images, these you know, not much, right? But so if we start to scroll, the images are there already. So if we scroll a little faster, okay. Yeah, there, all right. Okay, we load the page, scroll very fast. It's either happening really fast or, yeah. That the utility that we were using is actually something that for those of you who work on meshy things, the service mesh things, so the tool that we're using here is what page speed insights from Google, page speed insights. Well, if you see the logo, it uses some things from mod page speed. Yeah, same logo actually. Mod page speed will do things like what Blake is manually doing or Conwall is manually doing. And that is mod page speed. You can add these filters, add these modules to your Apache instance or your Nginx instance if you're using either of the two of those as a web server. In the case that we're hosting off of GitHub Pages, there's no, A, you don't have control over that. B, they may or may not be using Nginx or Apache. Even if they were, you wouldn't have control. The thing is, if you are running your own web server, you can take these modules and put them into your web server and have things like, well, here, lazy load images. Loads images when they become visible in the client viewport. To delay original images serves inline low quality placeholder images until originals are loaded. This is something that will happen automatically. There's no code that you have to write. It's just the web server will do this automatically for you. And it's actually hard to see because that happens so fast. But the point is, so there's only a couple of maintainers of this stuff in the world, and one of them happens to be a real good friend of Layer5. And so he's taking these and converting them to be Envoy filters, which is our next meeting actually in an hour and something. The WebAssembly filters that we're dealing with, we're going to take these and use these as filters that Meshery will manage, so that anytime you're running services on a Meshery managed service mesh, you would have the ability to deploy any number of these and have this affect your site, your services. Remove HTML comments. So that manual thing that Blake was doing is like, no, it'll just automatically do that. Resize images, minify CSS. You know. So there's quite a few in here. These are extremely well written. The C++ behind this is not for the faint of heart, is what I'm saying. So cool, good. As a related note, because the same tool that is used here to analyze the speed of your site are some of the same tools that we'll be empowering a service mesh with. This is for layer5.io, and so a bit of trivia, I guess, for everyone. Also, nice that I learned this today.
Also, one performance issue that one point that we get in the performance results for both our Meshy.io site as well as Layer5 site is using Pnga images irrespective of WebP. something like that. I don't remember the exact best format to use, but I've seen it in the results multiple times, even in the doc which was added for the issue open for layer 5 site. Like for images being used, we like most of the images on our layer 5 site are PNG images, and PNG images are comparatively heavier and take more time to load compared to other images like WebP, which is the recommended one for website, considering those are light and loads fast. So that is something will have to consider. We can consider in order to improve the performance.
Nice. Yeah. Huh.
Just scroll down a bit.
Also, would
Yeah,
using static images,
the first one is the serious images index and format. It improves around 13.65 seconds. If we choose.
Excuse me. Ooh, yeah, that's a long. That's this one. This one's like a meg in size as well. So it hasn't. So WebP.
also would using static images also help? Like, there's an open issue on this, but I think that Amisha is not working on that anymore.
So that won't affect the performance, right? Like that will just help in Gatsby building the site, building the HTML static HTML page, rather than giving the benefit on the image side.
Does anyone know if there's a convenient converter?
That's something I'm not sure. I think from Photoshop also, like I'm not if Figma also allows to transfer images also, but Photoshop does that I know.
Like
In which
converter
I
from
use
PNG to SVG?
PNG to WebP. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So, Gatsby plugin sharp. WebP is a technique. Or yeah, I guess at least for Gatsby, maybe. So between Gatsby and Jekyll. Yeah, I wonder if, so I wonder if the open issue on the Layer5 IO repo, on the Layer5 repo, should maybe call for tweaks to the current plugin that we're using. Transformer sharp fixed with WebP. Okay, if you want to automatically use WebP images when the browser supports the file format, use the with WebP fragments. If the browser doesn't support WebP, Gatsby image will fall back to the default image format. Having said that, I think it's still incumbent upon us to provide the WebP file format. Okay, interesting.
That we use this plugin as of now on our site. That is image Gatsby plugin shop. And I see that it provides an option to convert the images of our desired type, which is to JPG as well as PNG or WebP. But I'm not sure exactly how to. If from what taking an overview, it looks like when we are fetching the images from the GraphQL query, at that time itself we can set the type or to change the type to the respective one. But we'll have to check out how to do it exactly. So, yeah, take a look. But it seems like if that's the case, then that might help. If that would be, if that the process mentioned in that one is so easy, then I don't think it would take much time.
So whether the visitor's browser supports these, what are these, like advanced or these formats, be either automatically discerned by Gatsby, potentially by the or it could be logic invoked at during for which image type?
Yeah, the method mentioned for the plugin itself is page of the GraphQL.
Oh, I see. Okay. And so I'll just, whoops, I'll just put a link to this. Good. Does that capture your thought more or less?
Yes, yeah. And if the performance benefit as mentioned in that site state, then I think we would be able to get it. Like we can able to improve the performance by a huge number compared to what we have.
It's a great, yeah, I think so. I think, I mean, just if you just take to your point, excuse me, to your point, if you're just taking a look at the numbers here, that's, I mean, that like that many seconds is a lot. Now, I would have, I'm surprised that that they don't estimate larger savings on this. It's a large image, but there are a couple 100 kilobytes on each of these that are saved, or 100 and something. Which starts to add, when you add them all together, you start to get into the megabytes of savings. And so, yeah, for sure. Efficiently encoded images, serve images in next gen formats, AVIF. Cache policy. So our cache policy right now is 10 minutes. Ooh, is that right? Sheesh. Huh. Yeah, I mean, for individual images like this, the only time it's going to change is when we move it to, when we re-encode it. Other than that, it would stay the same. So,
yeah,
so
but
like
considering the transfer size mentioned over here is 1150 K, and the potential savings mentioned above is around 1000 K, then I think that would make the difference over here.
oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. This is not the resized. This is the potential savings. So yeah, that's, yeah, good. Okay. That's more in line with what I thought might happen, which is like, yeah, extreme, like it's like 90% or something. It's, 85, 90%. It's quite significant. It's like, it's totally worth the time. So yeah, it'd be really interesting. So we'll have to come to understand whether or not the plugins can automatically convert, or if we just need to do a one-time conversion. The one-time effort isn't isn't terrible. That's something I can do if that helps. Like, yeah, especially like these first two, it's like, geez, yeah, that's really big. Okay, that's good. And then is Dave Priya still on?
Yeah, but you'll have to share the screen. I can't share it.
Okay. Oh, wow, nice.
I couldn't find a slide which had service mesh specifications written, so I put this as the cover. But
Yeah.
yeah,
We can go change that word real quick and then take a screenshot. Yeah, that's nice. I mean, I can go change the word real quick so you can get a better screenshot. Nice. So to introduce this on Dave Priya's behalf, we give in the community, we give a lot of talks. I'm not sure how many talks we'll be giving at this coming KubeCon, but a lot more than I want to. And we put, usually we put a fair bit of effort into what the content of what we're telling people about, and it's good. And some people hear it, but we're not getting all of the, we're not getting all the value out of the content, and neither are other people. And so there's a lot of talks that we've given that if time is taken to break those down a little bit and convert them into a blog, like it's fantastic content. And it really, anyway, we get we get more mileage out of it. It also, so if people are searching for these terms, it's great for relevance, domain authority, and search engine, not exactly search engine optimization, a bit, right? Because we get a lot of relevant content. But it's also a great way of, I mean, Dave Priya didn't just copy and paste this stuff. Like, this stuff wasn't written down. She had to like suffer through listening to me talk for a while. Then she had to figure out how to break it down into different sections and stuff. And so part of this process, Dave Priya will have a byline here very shortly with some things that she might not have previously known very well, but she's certainly familiar with now. She might not feel like an expert at this point, but if she does a second one or a third one, actually, she probably would feel fairly comfortable to say, well, there are a number of different service meshes out there. And because of that, instead of people tethering their code to one specifically, they might use an abstraction. So there are a couple of abstractions out there. The Layer 5 community represents the performance-centric one. Like, that's stuff that I think that, like, those statements, that might be stuff that Dave Priya's, like, just because she did this exercise, she might be comfortable saying. She didn't go into a lot of detail, and she didn't necessarily need to. That was just helpful information unto its own. If she does a second one, she might go into even more, she might be able to recount that off the top of her head. And so anyway, really cool. This is really nice. Dave Priya, he did a great job of writing it up. I still haven't read the whole thing, but of the paragraphs that I did read, it was obvious to me that I don't think that I needed to read the rest, which is, it either says that I'm really lazy or that I have a lot of trust. So I'm somewhere between me being lazy and me trusting you.
I'll go through the entire thing again in case there's some spelling mistake or something.
Yeah, I suggested some changes. You can. I've read the entire thing.
Yeah, good. So I guess we're saying a couple of things. One, Lee is lazy. Two, Aditya is not lazy. Three, Aditya takes any opportunity he can to give, critical feedback. One thing that I'm out of curiosity. So on the site, so the Layer 5's font is the Canella's soft font, and that's showing through here, and that's obvious and looks nice, and it's showing, but it's not, it's showing through in the headers, and I think for the most part in the paragraphs, we're seeing an open sans. And so I wonder, that's not necessarily specific to, or if you would maybe take a look and see what's going on. If that's the same way with the other blogs. Yeah, it seems to be. That's open sans in the header, but it's, okay. I think it's less apparent, like when it's just in the header, when the difference is between the section title and the paragraph, it's not as like obvious of a switch. This, I think, yeah, but it becomes more obvious here. One thing, another thing to consider, Devapriya, is the potentially allowing people to click on the, oh, okay. So you can click on them. It might just be, if you can't, if it's not too much of a pain in the rump, you might try to change the cursor style to hand.
Okay.
Cool. Hey, by the way, do we have a, I think this is just something to play around with. Like, we end up, there's a certain style that Nikhil and others have been, you know, as they've created the site, that we've begun to curate a couple of blog specific styles. And one of them is about the shadowing of an image. Which maybe it will show up here. But
I get what you're saying. I've seen it. So there's a green shadow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yep. Jeez. Nikhil. Okay. Okay, good, Nikhil. All right. Okay. That's an awesome blog. That's really great. So good. So if anyone else is looking to do blog posts or like wants to get, you know, learn that stuff, get a byline, get a blog post out, please do. There's a bunch of talks that we have given that you can pull from, or ones that we will be giving. This is outdated. We've got a lot of upcoming talks. We've just started to turn away people who are asking Layer5 to speak. I'm just kind of waiting for one or more of you to become comfortable with some of the subject matter so we can hand off those opportunities to you. Because my goal is to not speak anymore, but for others to be doing it. Okay. Any other feedback? Any other topics today? Okay. How about for next week? Anything that we've got that we think we might want to talk about next week? So blog posts is the topic. It's one that I'm considering throwing in a little bit of time behind some blog posts as well. Might be one of those things where we tag team. If somebody else wants to sort of help advance it along. Investigate fonts. Right. I remember now, I had tried to use WebP for the very first image, the one that was listed there. I've tried to use that in the past, and I recognized what had happened was I saved off the image as that new font, the new image format, and then not being familiar with the plugins, that image format wouldn't load in one of the browsers. And so it's like, well, I guess since it's not universally supported, we can't use it. And so but I hadn't taken it a step further to look at how to load one versus the next. So if this plugin facilitates for it, that's really great. So
Was that browser Safari?
say it again.
Was that
Oh yeah.
browser Safari?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can't hear you. What was that? So anyway, yeah, it was Safari.
I cannot guess that. Because as per my research, it works fine on Firefox, Chrome, and the Brave browser as well, like the most used. Not sure what Safari.
It does. Ooh, excuse me, does Safari support WebP? Huh. This is a year ago. Can I use WebP? Safari, partial support. Seems old though. Safari 15, what are we in now? Safari 14.1, oh, okay.
Maybe we can check if they also provide a fallback mechanism so that if the image doesn't load. But I doubt they might be, because that has to be checked at load time itself if the image is loading out. So not sure if that is possible, but we can check that out. Check that option as well.
Nice, yeah, totally. Cool. Okay. Anybody have anything else? I'll capture that note about next week, potentially talking about blog posts. Other than that,
I have one thing, just because if we have a bit time, can I? It's about the when there are newcomers coming into a Slack channel, the set of links that we share. I personally feel that they are too overwhelming for beginners, because we are sharing. If you see the files, it's a document file and it's very big. So we have 3-4 links like that. So maybe we can shorten them with any URL shortener and then share them or something like that. I just personally felt that if anyone else didn't.
yeah, as a matter of fact, I mean, yeah, that's a good, for the most part, any one of those links that are being shared, when the person goes there to look at that content, most of the time, it will have a link to the other ones and a link to the other ones, a link to like so long as they go look at layer5io/community or /newcomers, from there, it'll take them to all the things. Like there's the newcomers guide, the community guide that will be switched out soon. Like if they follow any of this stuff, if they go, this by the way is a little bit hidden, but so the one form or the one resource that I try to point out is this form that hopefully will go away and we'll have the web-based form of. And that's because if this one isn't filled in, eventually they won't have access to the Google Drive. And so, yeah, either the part of the problem with the shorteners is that you may find that when Slack tries to unfurl a given URL, is that it may not show them the image that's defined in the metadata. It may not unfurl the image and give a preview very cleanly. Also, it's just like the number of links that we're sending them is a lot. It's also the fact that they do unfurl. if they didn't unfurl and you had a small paragraph that has 3 links in it, it wouldn't feel as overwhelming to the user. I'm not sure if everyone's aware, but part of what also happens to users is they'll get a private message after about somewhere between immediately to 3 or 4 hours later, they'll get a private message that has a bunch of links in it saying welcome. And so some of you have probably seen that. Some of you probably received it at one point. So Zane, I mean, yeah, I guess what I was saying is it's a good idea about the URL shortener. I don't think that that's the crux of the issue. The crux of the issue is probably just an overflood of like stuff. And I hadn't ever said anything about it before and I'm not really saying anything about it now other than just if you're looking to cut back, it's probably not so much about the length of the URL as much as it is about how many URLs they're given. I would suggest.
Also because I think it's also because of the previews. Actually, the text is not that long.
Yeah.
It's after the previews that the message becomes huge.
Mhm.
I thought we were talking about the integromat message. So, but if it's the message that we have crafted, then feel free to craft another message that we can copy paste.
No, it's the same one, which is in the we started with the newcomers form is the right place to start.
The automated message as well. Are you talking about that?
No. The one that we send to newcomers when they join in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's written out. That's like,
Yeah.
we don't have to keep sending that message. We can just create a new one.
I think like Lee and you mentioned, it's the issue with the preview. When the preview comes in, it looks so well.
Yeah.
And
Text
this is
not
the
that long.
in the message you're seeing right now. It's actually 2 links are not there in that.
Oh,
If you see the above message, and I think above Alan Abraham, there's a reply, right? If you go and look in that, above that, the replies. Yeah. The first message from there. Yeah. So it's one whole, it takes up the whole UI. So
yeah.
There's another thing that I don't know is if it's always obvious to everyone. One, there is a shorter URL for this one, and it's just meet.layer5.io. But something else that may not be obvious to everyone is that, let's say that we have a URL where we want to point to the community handbook, for example. So if we wanted to say, hey, a good resource is the community handbook. When we put that there in my clipboard, I have the, what do you call it? Link. If I just press control, if I do control V or command V, this is a way of shortening it up. Like there's no URL even shown. It will unfurl or attempt to, right? If I send that, it may unfurl because it hasn't done it for a while. You can also go, well, let's remove that specific one. And then that way, I'm a little hesitant to do things like never unfurl it. It's like, well, I don't know, like maybe sometimes that's good, but yeah, it can be, when it's actually the same image as well, it can become a little bit obnoxious, I think. So that's another tactic. So like if someone takes a moment to say, if you guys are copying and pasting, if you take a moment to kind of pre-format the text with the link, you'll notice that like that has been done for the reminders. So here in the reminder, it's like, oh, if you'd like to join the meeting, it's a hyperlink. It's actually meet.layer5.io, which is a lot longer. Yeah. So you can create hyperlinks is what I'm saying. For as many times as this message is reused, it's probably worth taking a minute to do that.
yeah,
It's just hard to read anyway. It's just like, wow. Oof. And they're not bulleted, like, because you could also, there's no bullet points added here, which would also be a little helpful to the lazy reader, since we're talking about laziness. Cool. Okay. Well, we're over time. this has been good. Same time next week.
Bye bye.
See you all soon.
Bye-bye
All
all.
right. Thanks, Zane. Bye, Mohit. Bye, Nikhil.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
See you.
Bye.